So, what do you feel happens when an algorithm starts to define what women should look like? Like that, like to give it kind of like the Eve, the movie example, which
Yeah.
kind of exuding the, what is beauty and what is femininity or a desirable woman.
uh,
And, what do you think happens?
I have a rude response, and that would have
That's
been
okay.
it's none of their business. You're an AI, we're humans. But
Mm, hmm.
that's a very like short answer.
Hmm.
But it's more complex than that. You and I have talked about this whole idea of Luddite summer, right?
Hmm.
I think a lot of people are onto the game. Uh, the
Hmm.
idea that AI is remaking us into its own image,
Hmm.
telling us the way I simplify it as well too is that the AI data is us. That's us, right?
Yeah, we're responsible.
We're
Sure. Yeah.
responsible for that. We feed into it. We reinforce it.
Hmm.
It is us, and it's telling us this is you
Mhm.
as a
Yeah,
collective.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you'd talked about how do we bring this conversation back specifically to designers, researchers, technologists, those that may be listening in, and ourselves. We're not just observers, we're participants, but we are those that are deciding how tools are built and whether they make people feel seen, acknowledged,
Mhm.
or are we creating tools that are um, you know we, cr- I always like to I always like to go with positive, creating tools to empower and create value based on everyday experiences.
Yeah,
That's really critical.
yeah,
And when we think about that, is that that certainly implies that you're acknowledging people, but you make them feel seen, especially if it's something where they're portraying themselves in their own, how do we decide how beautiful they are or not? So if
yeah,
they're consistently going to a filter or representation that's a persona, that really they will be feeling seen, but seen as that representation of themselves. Um,
yeah.
so I really like this way that you're framing this because it's really for those on the call or the call listening in, that especially if you are within the space where you're rethinking filters and um, I would assume that it would be those that are designing like augmented reality
Mhm,
tools,
mhm,
apps,
mhm,
along with filters that
mhm,
how can we rethink those with care? And I know
mhm.
you have these great guidelines, heuristics, but your thoughts on that. I mean, I know, like, I can't remember the exact, you fill in the blanks for this, but you have a specific heuristic that matches this, but like starting with transparency.
Yes, there's consent. There is, well, I think it's the transparency itself. If we unpack that, it has to do with things like explainability, right? So right now on YouTube, for example, you have to say whether or not this was AI generated, right?
Yeah.
I know old people looking at YouTube thinking, Carney and what's his name? Justin Trudeau invested in crypto coin because
Hmm.
they've been able to co-opt their images and have them saying things that they didn't say. So
Interesting.
again, yes, and it was a big scam. My best friend's mom was scammed for $750 because she's like, this is good enough for Trudeau. This is good
Mm-hmm.
enough for me. And
Hmm.
so, again, we need to have big tech companies who want this, and a lot of them don't want this. It is
Hmm.
oversight, it is control, um, uh, it's control for them, right? It's
Hmm.
policing for them. So they
Hmm.
want to run wild in the West, in the tech West. So I think we talked about this many times that
Hmm.
every designer who cares about these critical conversations in tech need to dub themselves activist designers
Hmm.
because they are not letting us in. And you will notice some of the trends, especially in Silicon Valley. They hire very young, callow developers because they're not going to question the ethics of what they're doing. As long as
Hmm.
they can, buy a nice condo, get a car, travel to visit their family, whatever, they
Hmm.
will not question the ethics. When we were in design, we carried around logbooks. I keep on saying this
Hmm.
because we were like, oh my gosh, we could get audited,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so it's one thinking back to the logbooks, ethics, consent, and transparency. So that implies that a system will be created
Yes,
where someone can even understand what they're consenting to.